All right, so let's set up our certificate to be a template so that it will read all of the information from this spreadsheet and make a certificate for each of these students. So the first thing that I need to do is get this certificate into template form. And basically what we do is we create tags so that the AutoCrat add-on knows to dump information from this column into this area of our certificate. And tags are created by using these symbols with the heading of the column in between them. So if I want student name to be right here, then I need to have the exact heading from this column in my certificate. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to place it in here into my certificate, which I could type it or I can copy and paste it. So that way the add-on knows that when it sees that column heading in between these tags, it knows to pull that information for each individual certificate. Then I want to put their content area here, so I'm going to create my tags. And then instead of putting math here, I'm going to put the heading of this second column. So I'm just going to copy and paste that into that area right there. So my certificate is now a template. So then I go back into my spreadsheet, find my AutoCrat add-on and open it. And then it's going to walk me through each step of the process. All right, so I'm going to click New Job. I'm going to give it a title. So we're going to call this Fourth Quarter Certificates. Then I'm going to click Next for Step 2. Step 2 is asking me to connect this information to a template. And I just created one using Google Slides, which is already in my drive. So I'm going to click Drive. And I'm going to look through my drive to find this certificate, which is titled Copy of Student Certificate. So this allows me to search through my drive, or I can search for that file by typing in the title or part of the title. But here it is. I'm going to select. So it shows here that this is the template that I have selected. And I'm going to click Next. And this is where I make sure that all of the data from my sheet is correctly mapped into that template. And if you look here, it says Merge Tab. Well, this is the tab of the Google Sheet that it's pulling the data from. So I want to make sure that I select Sheet 1, because you can see down here, this information is on that tab. This Google Sheet happens to have just one tab, but sometimes Google Sheets can have multiple tabs, so we have that ability to pull from the correct tab. This indicates that we do have a row of headers, which are our titles for each column, and then our data actually starts in row 2. For this certificate, I have 2 different tags, student name and content area. And so I want to make sure that those are mapped correctly. So where it says student name, I want to make sure that it is pulling the information from the column with the header, student name. And where it says content area in my template, I want to make sure that it goes to the column B, that has content area as the heading. That all looks correct, so I'll click Next. And then this is where it creates the name of the file. So if I'm going to create individual files for each student, which is where it says multiple output mode, then I might want to do tag and then put student name and then maybe 4th quarter certificate. If I do single output mode, that means that it creates one file and generates all of those certificates in just one file, which makes it a little bit easier to print them out. So that's what I'm going to do, is choose single output mode. And since that's the case, I'm going to put class certificates, because it's going to be one file with all of them. So I have the choice between, do I want that file to be a Google slide, or do I want that file to be a PDF? And that's really preference, but I will say if it is a Google slide, then that means any adjustments I make to the template will automatically adjust to all of the Google slides, because they are stored in the cloud, and edits made to the template automatically edit into Google Slides. So I'm going to keep it in Google Slides. That also makes it easier for me to print them off. But if you'd like, you could also do PDF. Then I'm going to click Next. And step 5 is where I decide where that file goes. So I have already chosen the folder that I want it to go into. If I didn't want it to go into this folder, I would delete and then choose another folder from my Google Drive for those to dump into. You can also set it up to where they go into multiple folders by putting several of them, selecting several folders. The number of folders you have listed here, that's the number of destinations that this file will be dumped into. I don't want it to go in here, so I'm going to delete that. And I want this file to go into this particular folder, so I'll click Next. I don't have any dynamic folder reference, so I'm going to click Next. I don't have any merge conditions set up. I could add a condition if I had a certain thing in here. If a column, maybe if I had a column where it said yes or no, I could set the condition to where if the column says no, then I don't print a certificate. I don't have anything in this case, so I'm going to click Next. I'm not sharing this one with anyone, but I could. So I'm going to click Next. I don't have any triggers. If this was dependent on a Google form, I could run a trigger to where when a new entry is made on a Google form, it runs it. This isn't connected to a Google form. This is just simply a spreadsheet that I set up. So I'm going to click Save. I clicked Save, and now it's saving that file, fourth quarter certificates. So this takes a couple seconds to get that file ready. And now, if I'm ready for that file to be created in order to print them, I can either preview all of them here, I can make edits here, or if I'm ready for them to be printed, I can run the job. When it runs the job, it will add some columns into your Google Sheet that will give you a link to that file so that you can just go straight to the Google Sheet and see the file that's been created. So as you see this job running, you can see these file headings that have been created automatically. I have 21 rows of data, so it's telling me that it's pulling those 21 rows together. And because it was just one file, it creates this little link that allows me to see the file. So I'm going to go ahead and close this window. And if I click this link, it shows me my Google slide that has all of my certificates that I can just go into the File menu, click Print, and run them all off automatically. So I've simply created the template and the certificates for all of my students who have met their fourth quarter goals.